It's FNAF movie time! My history with the FNAF games was being so into it with the first two games. I remember there being a period of time where during lunchtime at school, I was the only one in my friend group to have the games on my phone, so we'd trade off between nights. And I had one night in FNAF 2 that somehow gathered an audience of other kids standing behind us watching me go through it. I wish I could remember if I beat that night or not. I think that's probably why the first two games hold a close place in my heart, because that was the one and only time during my 12 years of school that I had ever seemed somewhat popular. And when it comes to the lore, I was deep into that shit too. I remember being sick one day and spending the entire time watching FNAF theory videos so I can go to school the next day and tell all my friends. And it wasn't just theory videos, I watched the top 10s, I watched Smite, I saw every entry of the Songs of FNAF videos, including the third one on drop, and I was disappointed that Phantom Freddy's Walk wasn't soundtracked by Boulevard of Broken Dreams.
I walk a lonely road, the only one that I have ever known.
I watched Jacksepticeye's animated videos, but not the actual playthroughs. It wasn't time for me to get into him yet. I was so into these games that I had a Minecraft world on the Xbox 360 where I recreated the first two games, the fan games that were out around then, and some custom personally made versions that me and my friends could play on. I even started working on an adaptation of one of those fan-made trailers back in the day. One person gets to play as the security guard and the rest play as the animatronics trying to kill him. God, those were fun times. I'm still not over accidentally deleting the world. So in my opinion, the first game was great and iconic. The second one was fucking rageful. And don't get me wrong, I liked it on release, but the more I played it and the more I failed, the more it just gained the reputation of rageful. Fuck Balloon Boy, oh my god, I want to dropkick that little shit into a fucking wood chipper. When it came to the third game though, I thought the new direction was interesting, but ultimately that it got boring real quick. And I played the fourth game twice in my entire life. The first time, I got jump scared during night one and uninstalled the game. The second time, I think probably a year later, I tried recording a playthrough and got jump scared on night one and uninstalled the game. 4 was fucking terrifying. But by then, and certainly by Sister Location, I lost interest in the games and FNAF content. I didn't even know at the time that Sister Location was even a thing. Only knew of Custom Night years later because I got back into casually binging game theory FNAF videos, usually when I'm sick. What the fuck is Pizza Simulator? And then years later, Security Breach is a thing, and I don't think I knew about it for like a whole year. The only thing I know about the game is that it was a buggy mess on launch, that I enjoyed watching this compilation of said buggy mess torturing Markiplier, and that it's got a banger DLC. I'm inclined to say the Phantom Liberty of Security Breach, but I don't know how Breach's story is, and I don't want to insult cyberpunks. Anyways, point is, I fell off pretty much after the third game in terms of playing, and I haven't paid much attention to the lore outside of watching MatPat while I'm sick, where I'm most definitely falling in and out of sleep throughout the playlist. Here's my explanation of the FNAF lore off the top of my head while stoned. So that's the level of fandom I was at, alright? Very into the first 2-3 games, fell off into very casually watching Scott give Matt a constant migraine. I say all of this because going into the FNAF movie, I kept hearing that it was a movie for the fans. Oh, the critics hate it, but it's amazing for the fans. And maybe I was just a bit naive to what for the fans really means, but I went into this knowing that it sort of adapts 1 and 3, and it mostly follows the first book, which, dear lord, I forgot about the books. Like most of FNAF, I never read them, just heard them referenced throughout game theory. Killer Ball Pit. Anyways, I basically went into this movie thinking it's gonna be like the games, with the main 4 animatronics trying to get into the office and kill the security guard. That all the references to the lore and it being for the fans would be the movie events and lore being faithful to the games. That was not it. Spoiler warning, cause duh. The first place I want to start is the references, because that's where I think majority of the it's for the fans comes into play. When a cop said that her name was Vanessa, and I heard my friend next to me give the same reaction he did to MatPat's cameo, I knew I was not the target audience for this. If you are a die-hard fan, and I mean completely die-hard, played all the games, read all the books, watched a ton of FNAF content, way past the deep end for the lore, then you are going to love all the references this movie gives you. but that's all they seem to be for me. They're just references. The best way I've been able to describe this movie, in my opinion, is a mid-movie that has FNAF references and characters. And did I enjoy the references that I did get? Of course. I loved seeing Matt Patton when he said that's just a theory. It was cool seeing the poster in the office. All 3 Balloon Boy jump scares made me laugh, and they genuinely got funnier each time. And was I giddy seeing these 4 animatronics on the big screen looking as beautiful as they do? Hell yeah, I did! But the last thing I was expecting in a Five Nights at Freddy's movie was the main plot to be about this dude reliving the same dream where he loses his brother because he wanted a frisbee instead, and he sleeps through every damn night just to continue living this dream, but now with ghost children. I get that by the end of the movie this all adds up with the reveal that William Afton was the one to take Mike's brother, but while I get it, that doesn't mean I like it. Honestly, I think a lot of these dream sequences are boring, uninteresting, and kinda lame. Especially when we're finally at a point in the movie where all 4 animatronics are actually attacking the security guard, but what we as the audience get to see is him getting quickly slashed by children in the woods. I think this scene is my least favorite in the entire movie just because of how lame it is for me. I would love to be watching these animatronics that scared the shit out of me so many times as a kid actually attacking this man and possibly scaring the shit out of me as an adult, and not the main character getting quickly slashed by the ghost children that I never cared about even in the original games. Now yes, I do like the concept of the animatronics being the bodies and souls of dead children because that's insanely dark and instinctively intriguing to me for a horror game, especially when I was 12, but it's not what got me into the game or the franchise. What got me into it were the animatronics, that iconic look of the main 4 and watching the ensemble grow throughout the years. Hell, the only reason why I care about Custom Night isn't because of any lore or endgame cutscene, it's goddamn Mr. Hippo and his monologues. And there's really only 3 reasons why I even went and saw this in the first place. 1, because of Matthew Lillard as William Afton. 2, because I have a history with the games. And 3, because I want to see these animatronics killing people on the big screen. And yeah, we did get to see some of that happen, and I enjoyed every bit. The best scenes in this movie are undoubtedly the opening with the security guard, the group of guys getting chased down and seeing Bonnie and Chica have the greatest chemistry out of this entire cast for this one look alone, and a little of the ending sequence, but that's for other reasons. The rest of the movie is spent with this security guard who rarely seems to get attacked by the animatronics and can just sleep through half the night, who even gets to play in a cheat code and survives the whole night by just bringing in his little sister. This subplot with the most insufferable aunt that goes nowhere because she just dies and we don't even get to see it. What the hell even happened to the lawyer? What was his deal? Why did he seem like he smoked Sunrock before every scene? And then there's Vanessa, who's not a terrible character, though her name and getup seem to be a pointless reference to Security Breach because they make her William Afton's daughter, which, like, wasn't Afton's daughter Circus Baby or killed by Circus Baby? Apparently there's little to no information about the original Vanessa, so again, this seems like just a reference for the sake of being a reference. This character could be named literally anything and it doesn't change a single thing about her character or the movie. But because she's a blonde girl in a cop uniform, let's name her Vanessa. But as I was saying, she's not a terrible character, but I still wasn't much of a big fan. And again, I can get why her character is the way she is. Being Afton's daughter and knowing about all the murders, she would have had this reaction about Mike bringing Abby to the place. But at the same time, ma'am, you fucking let him. You encouraged it. You built the fortress. And with how it's planned out, because I obviously didn't know the reveal yet when she does get mad at Mike for bringing Abby, it's immediately after Abby got blown up by Bonnie's guitar, which, to me at least, made it seem like that's what made her angry. The anger isn't entirely understood until in hindsight, which while writing this, I understand that's the fucking point, but just because I get it, doesn't mean I like it. And then she's in a coma at the end of the movie, so if they ever make a sequel, she'll probably be in it. Who wants to bet she'll become a love interest? Alright, more positives. Matthew Lillard. Of course I'm gonna love Matthew Lillard, and he was amazing as William Afton. The way he reveals himself in the spring suit is so great. I loved the Scream reference, and just from an acting standpoint, he's spectacular. He was quite honestly the second most terrifying thing in this entire movie. The most terrifying was the cupcake in the vent. I put myself in that guy's shoes for 5 seconds, and that was enough to horrify me. And I know I started this off with positives, but one little nitpick I have with this entire scene is Afton taking off the mask. I get it, it's for the reveal, even though I already knew, and I get that it's the Hollywood trend, but that's my exact reason why it bothers me, because I'm tired of it. You know, I get the annoyance of Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man constantly taking off the mask, and I wish he didn't too, but that was in 2002 when Hollywood really didn't like having the face of the lead being covered. But it's 2023, we live in a post-Deadpool and Mandalorian world. Paramount's Halo was a prime example of why this needs to die, and just let masked characters be masked. If the actor's good enough, he can act with his body and his head movements to pull it off, and Matthew Lillard is good at that. I genuinely had less fun with his performance the entire time he was unmasked. When he was masked, he was genuinely so terrifying while simultaneously making me giddy at how cool and scary he was. And then when he wasn't wearing the mask, he just looked kinda dorky and hard to take seriously. And then on top of that, because you have him take off the mask, you later gotta get the mask back on him when the suit spring locks so he can be permanently spring trapped, and the movie just has him put it back on while the springs are locking? And I know he drops the "I always come back" line, which once again feels like a reference to just barely make any of this work, but this shit sucks in comparison to how it was originally done. Afton ended up in the springlock suit while running away from the ghosts of the children, trying to hide from them, and it backfired with the suit being so out of shape that the springs locked and trapped him inside. It was by pure accident, but it was so justified because of what he did. Which is just fucking miles better than this basic ass, "Look at me, I'm in this suit cause I look pretty cool, and I can control the kids. Uh-oh, springs are locking, let me put the mask back on, I always come back, ooh, iconic shaking." It's just, from a writing and storytelling standpoint, I find it so lame. And honestly, I kind of find it just bad writing. So yeah, while I enjoyed all the FNAF parts of the movie, except for the Saw Trap Freddy mask, that does not sit right with me. And there's parts of the movie, performances, and a decent amount of jokes that I liked. Ultimately, I was kinda disappointed. Especially with all the hype that it's a fan movie, I wasn't expecting the fan aspect to just be references and the core plot of the movie to be barely related. Inland! With all that being said, I do like that diehard FNAF fans get a movie that they can enjoy, and hopefully this can be the start of more adaptations not prioritizing the general audience and to focus on the fans. I just wish that we can improve and actually get good stories and have a fundamentally good movie that also cares about the fans, and not just references and characters being thrown into a kind of mediocre movie. Honestly, this kind of makes me think about the Warhammer 40k movie. I wonder if, because it's got Henry Cavill as lead and executive producer, it's not only going to be a good fan movie, but also a good movie? And if you like this video and I seem like the kind of YouTuber you like to watch every 3 months, go ahead and subscribe. I actively stopped asking for this years ago, but the channel's close to 1K, so this seems kind of appropriate.
And of course, everyone has their own opinion, but my opinion is the best opinion. I'm sure you figured that out already.
Could I have a subscriber, please?